101 podcast presented by Gemini, your bridge to the future of money. And it is a Monday. It is a rundown, and it is a special one because we have both momentum money makers with us, Brian and Joe, a special one. We've had Brian on a fair amount in the beginning of the year, and Brendan. We have not heard from Joe in 2026 yet. It is an awesome day, guys. We've got some macro stuff we're going to cover you, some basic news like a rundown, and then we do have the buffet of meme coin mania, momentum money makers, things to break down. There was some big runners over the weekend. We're talking 4, 5Xers. Brian might be reporting. I heard a rumor that there was some type of 60X he might have personally got on. There's just a lot of going on in the meme coin market. So it's a special day. We had to bring both of them to hear from them. Guys, welcome. Joe, I'm going to toss it to you first. We haven't heard from you in 2026. Happy New Year's from you to the listeners. And excited to have you guys both on.
Yeah, thank you. You haven't heard from me, but I've been listening in on you and Brian's live streams, so I'm there.
That's where the alpha is, right, Brian? We've got out some winners sometimes.
Heck yeah, man! Between you and Brendan in the rundown, I still there's some winners. There's some huge winners. Fired up to be here, TiVo.
There's been some poly market winners. I know you caught that one live when Brendan and I were on. You caught the alpha there. We should have done the playoff picks for the NFL because your boy might be the hottest gambler in the country right now at 7-1 on the playoffs for NFL. Have not gambled every game, kind of picking shows, but a true 7-1. Cayman can confirm that. So riding high into the crypto markets. My gambling picks are doing better than the crypto prices, that's for sure. We'll start the show by pulling up Coin Market Cap like we do when you guys come on. Again, just nothing too great. You're at the 7-day there. A lot of red. The Bitcoin down 6%. Ethereum down almost 10%. Monero, we covered that one, I think, with Brendan. And then the only winner of the group, I wanted to give a shout out to the community. Shout out to Rohit Canton, 19. We were talking about that on our meeting today. 37% up. And I know that Rohit did a newsletter a couple weeks ago on Canton. So the only green spot here in the last 7 days is something that the just the Crypt Nation community members have been exposed to and learned and got some learning from it in the last couple weeks. So just a shout out to Rohit. He's somebody who comes on a couple times a year on the podcast, but more involved in the community side, more the one of the main authors of our newsletter. So if you're interested in something like that to get more education, check the link below. There's always a link for that to get kind of inside our community, get access to the team. But thought that was a cool little bright spot. The only other thing to note was the fear and greed index did hit back into fear. I think we looked at that the last time you were on, Brian, and I don't know, credit to me. I think it was in neutral, and I said the way things are going here, this thing's gonna dip back into fear, and then sure enough, it has. But we'll kick it off just kind of open forum here. Is there anything in the coin market cap that catches your eye? Anything in the price movements, the macro that catch your eye? Joe, let's go to you first since we haven't heard from you this year. Just macro level, what are you feeling right now?
Macro level, the only thing I could think of today was how I was in Beijing, I was in Shanghai. What was it? November, and I was looking at these silver shops. I'm like, who's buying silver? Like, these stores were packed. And it's just so crazy how silver has developed in the last few months based off of China's restrictions, right? And it's just so funny. I was there and I was like, should I buy this silver teacup for like $100? That teacup would probably been worth like $1,000 right now. It's funny. And it's very interesting how it's affecting crypto is one of the things that one of our analysts, Brendan pointed out. I'm sure you've talked about it, if not already.
Yeah, the metal trade has been heavy. It's something that we've been monitoring, and I do have a comparison of actually Ethereum to gold on a chart that we'll get to in a little bit. But you got to give credit to the gold bugs and the silver bugs, and I know copper's in there as well. It's a trade, it's a metals trade that is high flying, starting to look quite like a hockey stick, and you kind of know what we say around here when you see the hockey stick. You gotta start maybe looking at it and breaking down a little more, but. It's the trade of the year so far, and it's interesting when you kind of compare it to where we are in crypto, and we haven't followed along with that. But there could be some mean reversion, which I know is something that we've talked about in our group as well. It's like, hey, this nothing goes up forever and in a straight line, and so when that maybe cools off, where does the money flow? And there could be a good case that some of that could come to crypto.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Tiva. There's a lot of correlation between people that are buying into precious metals and their interest in crypto. And we were talking about that a little bit in our group call earlier today. Because people, why are they buying precious metals? Because their fear of the US dollar, you know? And then we always talk about Bitcoin as digital gold, as it's not really acting like the digital gold or how we want it to perform. But in history, we have seen in times like this, precious metals catch steam, just start running, running, running. And then when it feels like a hockey stick, when it feels like it's about topped out, people start to pull profits off that creates a little bit more liquidity. And they don't typically, if you're in precious metals, don't want to rotate to the US dollar, you're looking for the next opportunity. And I do think there's a case where Bitcoin or some of these major cryptos could, because it's lagging behind. And there's a lot of bullish reasons that we talk about all the time about why we are bullish about crypto right now. But I'll be honest, I'm looking at the price right now. We got 87.5 Bitcoin. We're $2,900 Ethereum. But Solana was like $117 over the weekend. I actually bought some. And we're all kind of like looking at each other like, what's going on here? Why are we not seeing this movement? And I think it's people still look at crypto, even though we want to call Bitcoin digital gold, and I'm the number one behind that thesis. But we're all kind of like, it's not catching that safe haven thesis right now. It's still looking at a risk on asset. And now we're getting some odds out there that we could see a government shutdown. So we're getting even higher spikes in precious metals. But I don't think that's going to be the case forever. And I'm kind of going back to history where we see some major movements with gold and silver and copper, but gold, and we see some of those profits rotate back into crypto. I personally think we will see that. When are we going to see it? I'm not sure. It's depressing that Bitcoin's at 87.5, especially at the beginning of the year. It looked like we were going to speed run to 100 grand, and we were all kind of singing praises of how it's starting to look. I don't think this is, again, anything fundamentally or anything to be worried about. But from a trading perspective, it makes it difficult to trade these things right now because we're so dependent on the macro news.
Yeah.
Now, the macros are a little bit shaky. There are, and we're going to talk about later in the show, there are some meme coin runners, some daily runners. They're super interesting we're going to talk about. But that's my 2 cents. I think the crypto market will see some recovery. But hats off to the gold bugs. But I don't know how much longer that can continue just going up in a straight line.
Yeah, it feels parabolic. It feels the mainstream narrative. It is, in my producer analogy, it is the A block on every finance show right now. And again, traditionally, I don't think there's some crazy crash out for silver and gold. I don't think anybody thinks that there's going to be some 50% drawdown like that volatility. But could you get a correction? Absolutely. And then, I think we'll have Brendan on later in the week on Friday. He said something in our team call that kind of caught my ear. It's like, hey, if you want to trim and move that elsewhere, because if you're a gold bug or a silver bug, you're worried about dollar debasement. So you're not going to, if you're going to sell, you're not going to have into cash and hold cash, right? Because the dollar seems to be devaluing. That's the trade. It's like, okay, well, where do we put it? Stocks are at an all-time high. The AI trade's at an all-time high. You're probably looking for something else. And so does crypto come into the mindset there? And you can make an argument for that. And the reason is because as we say on the show all the time, it's nonstop positive news that, you're not going to hear on TV every day. You're not going to read in the newspapers, but it's just positive news around the crypto space. We'll do some quick hitters here before we get into our quantum computing Ethereum discussion. But Fidelity says Bitcoin could be entering into a decade-long super cycle. Bullish sentiment out of Ethereum. We've covered how Goldman Sachs has been talking about it, how JP Morgan's been talking about it, Fidelity talking about it. More bullish news in the crypto industry. Ledger plans to $4 billion IPO. Again, you're not going to go plan an IPO if you don't think there's a want for that type of evaluation, for that type of product. It's, crypto, security, all things with Ledger seems to be something that could be the next crypto IPO. And there's been tons of successful ones that have gone live. And then finally here, Capital One is acquiring a stablecoin fintech firm called Brex for $5.15 billion in a stock and cash transaction. Basically just a native USDC payment capabilities. But again, integrating Capital One's doing it. Visa's doing it. American Express is talking about it. Just it's all things with crypto rails, crypto sentiment that all seems positive except for the price action around these assets recently. So anything there that stick out to you guys of, again, Brian, you've done this with me enough where it's just like we pull up coin market cap, 7-day trend negative, and then there's just all this positive news around it. It is an interesting time in the space.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah,
it's oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, I've just been seeing the same as we do market updates here with Crypto Mavericks 3 times a week, and we've just seen so much integration at the the top tier levels of financial companies, and that we can't even fit it all in here. I mean, BlackRock just announced a new iShare, a premium income ETF. There's just so much integration, and I think we're still waiting for more. Right? We talked about the Clarity Act waiting, and just for that to pass and then the integrations for that to happen, that's going to take some time. So people just got to remember, even though these splashy headlines are great, it takes time to implement it, and we see the downstream effects a little bit later down the line.
All great points. All great points. We're going to move on to our kind of main A block discussion around Ethereum and quantum computing. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to the chat, buzzing right now with the chat. We did promote this inside the community, but we got a lot of people I haven't seen here before. We've got, well, Deb's here all the time. We love you, Deb. Zen Styles here down in Miami. Danny's here from Washington State. He says, go Hawks. McNutt's with us live on air. Trinity's here. Leonida's here. Let's see. Anybody that I've missed? A couple others. We really appreciate everybody doing it. Let us know where you're from. Somebody from Pinellas County. David, that's my neck of the woods. We got some Florida boys in the house. And if you're new here, please go down to the bottom right. You'll see our logo on YouTube. Give it a click. Subscribe. Give this video a like. It really helps us grow the channel and keep doing these awesome, fun, free shows. But we really appreciate everybody doing this, and the chat is super active. The main thing I wanted to talk about was kind of, again, something that we had in our team meeting earlier today, was this quantum computing talk. So we talked on Friday with Brendan, guys, and it was how Coinbase kind of created this quantum computing board where they're going to do a bunch of research. They're probably going to publish some papers around it. And this is Coinbase focused, but they're going to give guidance maybe to some developer teams, specifically maybe the Bitcoin team down the line. And there's probably going to be a ton more content going out around this as the quantum kind of computing storyline evolves. Obviously, it's an ever-evolving storyline, and how specifically will it affect crypto? How will it affect Bitcoin? How will it affect security for all finance and all of us as people, growing up in this AI era will be fascinating. But the most fascinating thing I want to break down for crypto is it feels like Ethereum is officially the first team, at least largely publicly, announcing that their developers are working on this for an Ethereum Foundation's long-term quantum strategy. And even Ethereum tweeting out here, Ethereum is for quantum resistance. So a huge thread here if you're interested in kind of breaking it down and learning about it. But I wanted to kind of open up to the group. Brian, we'll start with you because you kind of brought this up on our call and seemed to be well-versed in it. Excited about it. I think you nailed it as like a storyline, but what can functionally be done about it, and what are your thoughts when you're kind of breaking this down and reading this news?
Yeah, this caught me. This is a good point in my opinion for Ethereum, and I like what they're saying here, that they're building a quantum resistance and they're taking it very seriously. We're hearing it's a narrative at the end of the day. Is quantum computing a threat today? No, it's not. Could it be a threat down the line a couple years from now, a few years from now? Yes, I think there's a real case to be made there. We've read some very smart people that say that a lot of people within the crypto space need to be taking quantum computing serious, especially with the integration of AI and how fast technology is growing and moving right now. So it's great to see that the Ethereum Foundation is taking it very seriously, and they're going to put some quantum resistant rails up. And it's a very good storyline, I believe, as well, because if you believe quantum resistance is a thing, or quantum computing is going to be a thing, or if it isn't, the point is it's a point that creates fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It creates some fun. So when people hear that Ethereum is becoming quantum resistant or will be quantum resistant, it makes people gravitate towards that a little bit deeper and a little bit more. And then on the Bitcoin side of things, I am on note that I do believe Bitcoin developers are going to establish, and they're already working on it, but they haven't made announcements like Ethereum creating this entire team, that they will create some quantum resistant rails as well. But we have like, it's a little bit different vibe over in Bitcoin because you got some OG devs that don't want the native code to be touched or manipulated or implemented or changed too much. And then you have this other sector. It's like, hey, we really need to start taking quantum computing seriously. So that there's going to be some back and forth, but Ethereum was like, hey, forget that. We're taking it seriously. We're going to establish some security rails and security parameters. And I think it's going to really be a net positive for Ethereum. And I said on our team call earlier today that it's a narrative. And then you're going to have a guy like Tom Lee pop up on CNBC and CNN kind of leaning into people and talking about quantum computing and how it could affect crypto. And it'll be like Ethereum already put these rails in, it's quantum resistant, and people are going to gravitate towards Ethereum. So it makes me bullish for Ethereum. I like what they're doing. I like how they're addressing it. They've also did this with privacy as well. Privacy is a big talking point in 2026, and Ethereum's taking the necessary steps to make certain transactions and certain things private on the Ethereum blockchain. And now they're addressing the quantum computing fears. So I think it's really great for the Ethereum Foundation. I think it should really, it might not be a short-term trade. I think it'll help Ethereum's price in narrative in the long run. And I love to see that they're going to be working with Bitcoin and some of the devs over there. But Ethereum's grabbing the headlines right now, especially where fear could be causing some issues. And if you were fearful of quantum computing, and that's why you didn't want to get into crypto, and now you see Ethereum is taking it very seriously, probably your first token you're going to buy is going to probably be Ethereum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joe, feel free to jump in and add anything there.
Yeah, Brian messaged me. He goes, "Yeah, I'm liking Ethereum." And I was like, "I just bought some during our team meeting." We're all on the same page all the time, and it's funny because Brian and I were very vocal about migrating from Ethereum into the Solana ecosystem for the last few years. But we have noticeably been buying, or I have been noticeably buying more Ethereum in the last, I would say, 6 months than I've ever done. And shout out to our guest, Lido, who went on our podcast, and we're just asking him, like, are the high gas fees on Ethereum ever going to come back, even with, the entire financial rails coming on Ethereum? He's like, yeah, no, it'll be very low, like pennies. Well, so that gave us a little bit more confidence. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because Ethereum is doing great things like what you mentioned, the quantum resistance, but they also got 2 upgrades a year, and they're very vocal about their progress versus before. People, I think it was 2 years ago, the Ethereum Foundation got a lot of hate and the price plummeted. And that's exactly when Brendan was like, I think we're at the bottom of Ethereum. And he was right, So when you have Tom Lee coming back out making Ethereum predictions, that, the bull hat for Ethereum is back up. So I think he called something like $7,000 Ethereum. But yeah, I have been a Solana maximalist for the last few years, but now I've really got put back on my Ethereum cap because it's really flat. It's fast, it's fluid, it acts like Solana. I'm excited for what's Base going to do coming out of this. A lot of people's calling for a $30 billion market cap for Base when they do launch. So it's just very interesting for Ethereum. And I like them overall as a company. They're undervalued personally, even though, 390 billion market cap. But if I compare it to like a tech company, it's really just getting started.
Yeah, and then if you compare any of these, Bitcoin and or specifically Ethereum, I think is twice as less as gold, half, maybe even a third of the market cap of silver, and then obviously way less than gold. And then Bitcoin compared to gold, you can make those comparisons back to what we said at the beginning, like, hey, if there is some type of catch-up trade, if there is saying, hey, the dollar debasement trade is on, and Ethereum and Bitcoin get included into those type of conversations, there's a lot of room to the upside here. And I really agree, and I'm the social media guy and kind of bringing the narratives of the space. And so I totally agree with Brian, like this narrative of building out Ethereum to be quantum resistant, to then give that talking point to the foundation, to all the investors. Obviously BlackRock is kind of made that note of like, it's the Bitcoin, it's Ethereum. They're building on Ethereum. JP Morgan's building on top of Ethereum. And then, the bulls like Tom Lee can go and do all their TV hits and make the case of why Ethereum is quantum resistant. Just gives it a talking point. Again, is it ready to be shipped? Obviously, they're just kind of doing the research, and nothing is quite there yet. And also, quantum computing as a whole is not there yet. So it's kind of like this. It's a Sam Darnold reference. I'm seeing ghosts here. I'm seeing ghosts. Like it's this reference of like quantum computing is going to take us all down, steal all our money, and make everybody destitute. But it's also like, oh well, we're going to build quantum computing resistance, but none of this is real. So I'm seeing ghosts. I think. But it is such a catchy term. It's like so sexy to talk about that it feels like if there's some type of momentum around it, it could be a huge narrative about that. So I think it's something to watch. You've definitely seen the quantum discussion kind of take over. I pulled up a tweet from Sailor. I just saw this over the weekend. I didn't put it in the sheet. Let's pull it up. So Sailor tweeted over the weekend, the greatest risk to Bitcoin is ambitious opportunists advocating for protocol change. Now, he specifically doesn't call out quantum computing, but I was kind of reading the Coinbase news and all this stuff, and I saw this tweet, and I guess this is kind of the point. My brain jumped to quantum computing about people are going to start proposing upgrades and changes, and then Sailor tweeting this out. My brain automatically connected it to quantum computing, even though he didn't even personally mention that. Do you think I'm far off from that?
No, I think you nailed it. It's where my brain went as well. Again, I don't think quantum. I just want the audience to know. I don't think quantum computing is like something we need to be fearful of today or tomorrow or next year or even a couple years from now. But it's great to see people taking it seriously, and it's just going to drive the narrative more because we're going to hear more and more about it. It's one of the biggest talking FUD terms out there. So just hear that, like, yeah, hey, we're taking it seriously. We're gonna have some quantum resistant protocols. It's gonna move the needle.
Yeah, it's gonna move the needle. And just to put a cherry on top of this quantum computing Sunday. It's nothing that is coming down the pipeline in any short order, like Brian said. So nothing to panic about yet. But it is narrative driven, and I think as the narrative guy and the social media guy, I think this is something that we're gonna be putting in the rundown a lot more. This year and the years to come. And it's a sexy storyline. So whoever can kind of go in and grab that sexy storyline, build some quantum computing dress that looks good and dress them up, I think it's something that is going to be paraded around the space and could be kind of easily sold to investors and to retail. And that's for probably both crypto and the stock market, right? Cybersecurity is a huge winner in the stock market. I think CoreWeave is one of the leaders there. And that's the talking points that they're going to be doing over the next 5 to 10 years as well. So stuff that we'll keep a tab on and keep bringing it to. But Ethereum Foundation talking about it, putting it into execution. Coinbase talking about it, putting it into execution in some form. And Sailor maybe cryptically tweeting like, "Hey, let's pump the brakes here when it comes to proposing too many changes." So we'll put a pin in that for now, but it will not be the last time we talk about it this year for sure. Moving on, it's Fed week. Brian, I know we're busy this week. I don't know if we'll be able to do, resurrect our lives for the Fed meeting, but if you're free, I'd love to do it. So we can talk about that later. But there was some huge news last week when it comes to, so obviously the Fed, to tee it up, the Fed decision is this Wednesday. It's unanimous that there won't be a cut. The betting markets are showing that there's going to be a pause here. And then obviously the press conference is the most important part. And Trump has not formally announced who will be his nomination for the next Fed president. But over the weekend, it took kind of a wild swing last week. So Rick Rieder is the quote unquote you can see my tweet there from January 2020. the bond king. Rick Rieder is the bond king. BlackRock's CIO is making a dark horse run here, at least in polymarket terms, for the Fed chair nomination. He had an interview with the administration, the president last week. All reports said it went well, but then the odds shot up here, and he's actually, as of today, now in the lead when it comes to the betting markets. So something interesting there. My final thought before I open it up to you guys is, how interesting would it be? The press conference, I think, is like 2:30. So maybe at like 2:25, the White House administration puts out a note of their next Fed chair right before he takes the stand. that seems reality TV-esque of something that this administration won't do. So I'll be on pins and needles between the 2 o'clock hour where the announcement is made to the 2:30 when the presser starts. My eyes are going to be peeled for a decision here. But any thoughts on Rick Reeder? I do have a clip. Let's play the clip. So I have a clip here. This is from a little bit ago, but it's him specifically mentioning hard assets, gold, and he did mention Bitcoin as well. So I got to tee it up here. It said started at the 45-second mark, so we don't linger too long. But here's Rick Reeder, the bond king, leader in the clubhouse right now for being appointed the next Fed chair.
Here's an in on the curve. I'd still clip that coupon. We're extending a little bit out. And then, quite frankly, I mean, there's some interesting things to do in privates, bespoke markets. And I think hard assets have to enter the equation today. Gold, Bitcoin, things that give you a little bit of ballast in the portfolio against potential for currency depreciation.
When you talk about Bitcoin should be part of the portfolio, what kind of percentage are you thinking about? Is it a 5%, which generally seems to be what people are talking about, more or less?
It seems high to me. So I run our global allocation fund.
Mm-hmm.
We're running long equities. We're heavy income. We're running, in the 3 to 5% region on gold. Gold strikes me today as a better currency hedge. Bitcoin tends to trade with vol, tends to trade with the NASDAQ. So we're running considerably lower than that in crypto. I just think it's going to go up, and I think it's a good expression. But 5 seems high to me, but it depends where you are in your life and how much risk you want to take.
Well,
I mean, so that's I think that was December, like the first week of December, maybe November, that interview out in California. What a call, by the way, just giving the metals a shout out there. And then obviously Bitcoin getting a shout out as well. That's why he's the CIO and the bond king. He's an absolute legend in the space. But an interesting thought. If that guy gets nominated and put in a Fed chair, he knows what Bitcoin is. He's thinking about Bitcoin. He thinks it deserves an allocation. So any thoughts on the bond king maybe getting the nod here?
First time I've heard his name, but he seems well spoken, and I'm way through that percentage allocation that he deems risky.
Yeah.
I think in prior interviews, I'm pretty sure it was him, and it's been a lot of people. I think he famously said that he thought that Bitcoin could replace gold at one point. Mm-hmm. We might need to fact check that, but I'm almost 95% sure that he's mentioned that. So for him to know what Bitcoin is, it sounds supportive of it, and sees the path forward, I think it could be very bullish for the cryptocurrency sector. In addition to that, he's going to more likely be open to rate cuts. I mean, this next Fed chair is going to have to be open to rate cuts. That's probably the first question he gets on the interview from Trump. So I think just being open to rate cuts is going to support more liquidity, higher risk assets going off, and then couple it down with his connection with BlackRock. And he said that he thinks Bitcoin could overtake gold's market cap at one point. I think it could be extremely bullish for us, but let's see what happens. I'm all about some reality TV show at 2:25 before Powell takes stage. I need something in my life.
No, I know. It could be. We got to maybe look at Polymarket, see if we can find some action. Will the new Fed chair be announced before Powell takes the stage or something? That could be interesting. Get a little action on that. But the number one quote that Rick Reeder's had in the last couple interviews I've seen him is saying that this is before any Fed chair discussion of him being in the lead, but he said this environment right now is the best investment environment that he's ever seen in his life. And he's the bond king. So he's the CIO. So he, oversees a lot, but he is the bond king and has made his living in the bond market. But he's been saying it's the best environment, and he loves equities. He loves metals. Obviously a little bit of crypto and Bitcoin in there. And he's definitely somebody that is quote unquote market friendly, specifically obviously towards the bond market and the stock market. But boy, when you're kind of, you hear that term Fed put, it's like when the markets are tanking and there's something crazy going on, like COVID, for example, when the market's falling off a cliff, eventually the Fed stepped in famously and it just absolutely lit the market up with liquidity. And that was the Fed put saying, hey, we're stepping in here. We're going to provide, whatever's needed to make sure that this economy doesn't fall apart. That marked, quote unquote, the Fed puts. So when you have somebody like Rick Reeder in there, I totally agree. The first question when you step into the office for that interview, the Oval Office for the Fed interview, is, are you going to cut rates? If you say yes, you move on to the other questions, I'm sure. But it will be it would be hard to find a more market friendly as a whole choice than Rick Reeder, the Bond King. So something that we'll cover for you guys. It was my at our end of year show with Bryce and Brendan. I said I thought the Fed storyline was going to be one of the most interesting of the year, to see, number one, who gets put in there, but then how the market tests them, how they react, and then how these rate cuts figure into trying to get rates lower. So it'll be that storyline is just heating up, and we'll most certainly be continuing to talk about it. But let's move on to our main event. The people that are with us here still in the chat, and the chat is still buzzing. David Murray, Ron Joseph, PKZ. Appreciate everybody that continues to pile in and be active. Again, give this video a like if you're new. Bottom right, hit the logo and subscribe. But it's time for the main event. Momentum Moneymakers, Brian and Joe's group. There was tons to discuss, especially this weekend. Just absolute high flyers of memes, meme coins. We're going to cover that. And if you like this stuff with Brian and Joe, if you're new here and you like their kind of market updates and you want to get their first alerts. So these are trades that, again, nothing we say here is personal financial advice. We're just trying to educate. But if you want the first alerts on the things that they're finding for their research, so you can hop onto these things early and get their trades, I put a link in the description. If you go down there and click the Momentum Moneymakers link, it is a direct link to their private community, and it's where you get those first alerts for all the things that they're researching and seeing. But, man, the first one here literally took over the internet this weekend. We've talked about Pengu a lot here and pudgy penguins and how cute they are. It is not pudgy penguins this time, but it is a penguin meme. So sticking with the penguin theme, Brian, tee this up for us. What was going on this weekend?
Man, this one kind of hurts, to be completely honest with everyone, because it wasn't a call within our community, and because it didn't make a lot of sense at first. But this penguin from a documentary started like showing up all over my X timeline. And I'm like, what is going on? Initial thought, the first time I saw it, it was cheap, like generational missed wealth opportunity cheap. And I literally saw like, oh, they're talking about the wrong penguin, because I thought about pudgy penguins. And I continued to watch it, and I just kept going, seeing it go up, and I tuned back in. It was showing up more and more on my timeline, And Joe, then I shared it with you. I was like, hey, you following this penguin meme coin? And it wasn't even something I was interested in buying, but it was just going up only. You have to be super careful with these meme coins, because a lot of the time you're like, is this like a cabal pushing this? Is this a rug pull? So that's why I didn't give it as a recommendation. I didn't personally buy into it, because I was like, what is going on here? And it was at like 30 million then. So I was watching it way earlier than that, $30 million market cap, shared it with Joe. We kind of went back and forth about it. Then just a few minutes later, the White House retweets. I think I have it on the sheet. They retweet it with the penguin. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This penguin, it writes like embrace the penguin. And then there's all these connections to it with Greenland and everything we've been talking about. And I know, Tivo, you and I jumped on here. I want you to chime in kind of when you first saw it, what your first initial reaction is. Because it came out of nowhere, but it ran hard.
Yeah, so I guess you teed it up perfectly. So I'm going to share the video. So let's play this video from the documentary that we're saying, because the first thing I saw as well was I get this tweet. So I see this tweet, and again, we try to stay politically just agnostic. We're trying to not to dive into the politics of all this, but there's so much going on in the world right now. It's so heated that anything that gets brought up immediately becomes political. So this embrace the penguin tweet goes out, and immediately I'm like, what is this? I don't get, like, the Greenland thing, embrace the penguin, winter Greenland. You know, if you watch Mighty Ducks, Greenland's made of ice, Iceland's made of green. And then all these comments flood in, and it's like, there's no penguins in Greenland. They don't exist. Whoever runs this account is such an idiot. And then there's all these tweets going up about like the Trump, White House are idiots. There's no penguins in Greenland. And then I'm Googling it. I'm like, well, if there's no penguins in Greenland, maybe that is bad. Like, that is a bad tweet. And then I'm doing more research, and I'm like, no, they're referencing, like, they're like, if you don't get this meme, like, shame on you. Like, you don't get the internet at all. And I'm like, oh, I should be getting the internet. I need to find this meme. So then I find the meme, and then all of a sudden my timeline and my algo for the rest of the weekend was nonstop this penguin. So let's watch this, because just to understand what it's coming from. It's coming from this this clip right here.
Oh, there it is.
But one of them caught our eye, the one in the center. He would neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But one of them...
So it's the story of a penguin that waddled away from the herd and went to the void of the mountains, where he surely would peril. And then I guess from there, it's an artistic takeaway. Is he does he not want to be here anymore? Or is he, taking a walk away from the pack? He's not going to be like the herd or the sheep. He's going to forge his own path. He's a penguin of adventure. There's so many takes that I've seen. And I guess the administration is saying, like, hey, we're not doing things, the old-fashioned way, the way you think it should be done. We're the penguin heading towards the mountain, which I do find very funny. And then it clicked. It's like the memes that just once you get it, and you're in the circle. And then I go, oh man, once I connected the dots, I probably there's got to be a meme about this, right? And then sure enough, at least for me, I was a little late to it. But yeah, there's been some wild price action on this thing. A 7-day for
it's curling a little bit. It's coming back. It went up. This is max pain for me, guys, because like penguins are actually my favorite animal too. I even have like drawings from my 5-year-old that draws penguins. I have penguins everywhere. Favorite hockey teams, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So like I'm usually pretty interested in some sort of penguin meta, and this was max pain because I was like, this felt, because you can just see it's up in a straight line, and it was very short termed. And I was like, do I personally buy this? So I sent an alert out to our community. I was like, this feels too bundled. This feels too insider. This feels like a cabal. But when the White House tweeted it, I was like, oh man, this actually has legs. Then I personally felt like I missed it. And I couldn't give it out as a recommendation.
Right.
We haven't seen a meme coin get to 100 million in months. And I can't give a recommendation at 30 million. Like, people are going to get wrecked. And then the White House tweets it. So I was like, all right, like, this is good. I want people to make some money, bring some liquidity back in the meme coins, bring some attention back to the trenches. But what did this damn penguin do? It just kept going. It went from 30 million from when the White House tweet was to like 120. It was a clean 4x to anybody that got in. So hats off to anybody that got in. I was pessimistic because I didn't believe it. But here's the pros behind this and why this is great for Joe and I's community, the Momentum Money Makers, for anybody that's like kind of interested in meme coins, is that people still want to gamble with meme coins. They still want these viral pieces of content, and there's money on the sidelines that's ready to pile in. So this was great. I don't want people to get rugged on this. I want this to continue to go up. I want people to make money, and you can just see how this can snowball so quickly. But we have not seen a meme coin run like this. Joe, I think I said I can't remember one for 6 months plus. So it's great to see that, like, as macro's kind of down and we're all like kind of looking at each other like, why is Bitcoin and Ethereum not playing the catch up play with gold and silver? We're all looking at each other while this penguin's just minting millionaires. So there's going to be some other opportunities other than this penguin upcoming in my eyes. Great for the trenches, great for anybody that got in, but it was a tough one to time.
Yeah, nothing to add there. When Brian messaged me about it, I thought, when I saw it on my timeline, it was like $10 million, and I thought it was just Pudgy Penguins doing a spin on their, on their brand, right? And had Brian told me that, hey, should I buy it? I'm always an enabler of Brian, not because Brian gets amazing calls that we're going to get into. He caught a pretty big win over the weekend. I would have encouraged you to jump straight in, Brian, if you asked me. But yeah, that was a generational fumble between our messages. Definitely shows that the trenches are alive and well. So we're excited to see that, actually. This one, and then I think we're going to talk about another one, right? That ran up to 100 million. So we haven't seen things run up to 100 million this quick, this rapidly. And we had 2 of those in this last month. So it's good to see.
Yeah, it's still fresh on the mind. Like I said, once the meme clicked for me, I was like, oh, this has to be a meme coin. And then sure enough, it's our first, $100 million plus. It's at right now, as you can see right here, as you can see the highlighted $117 million market cap, which is kind of the target points I remember from kind of doing your guys' literature and education, as you try to find ones that are in the lower, and you think, hey, like we think this can get to 100 million is quite a number.
Yeah, and I'm pretty, like, we say to our community a lot, like sometimes you just like miss them, and you don't want to chase the coins because these can rug pretty quickly, or the sentiment just change on a dime. So it's the ones that we want to recommend. We want to at least have like a good feeling and a good vibe that this could continue to go higher and support itself. I don't think I'm a buyer of this penguin here because it's hard for me. Like, what else could happen? Like, Donald Trump needs to wear, or Powell needs to wear the penguin T-shirt for the meeting on Wednesday for it to happen. We already had the White House essentially promote it, Binance promote it, a lot of people promoting it. So I don't think I'm a buyer here now. But where I am bullish is that it's going to open the doors a little bit for people to be a little bit more on the speculative side of things, realizing that, hey, you can catch some big winners in meme coins even when the macro is down, because typically when Bitcoin's down, the meme coins are just getting wrecked. But there's some new runners popping up every couple of days here that I am personally really paying attention to, and can't wait to continue collabing with our community and trying to, find the big wins. And there's probably to the next point, I'll just segue over to us, is that, have you guys seen like all about like vibe coding and the Claude AI agent?
Yeah.
And it's just everywhere. And I actually signed up for it recently to like experiment with it. And one thing we've noticed here is that AI developers and researchers, as much as that we wanted to believe that they were using like AI bots and things to like help write code and establish, like, I wasn't sure how much it was actually happening. It does feel like it's happening a lot, and it's this Claude AI vibe coding. You're hearing more and more about it every single day, to the point where like I just asked both of you and you're like, yeah, like I've heard about it. So, and we've actually had a few calls recently in our community that have like, we've been trying to connect the dots with this Claude meta, I want to call it, or this AI meta, and some runners and connections with developers. Again, it feels like a really tough thing to trade right now. And I don't ever really want to go after this really hot meta until we see some established ones. But if you click on that link, TiVo, there was a winner that I personally got this weekend, and it's not one that I was able to share because it felt and I'll kind of give a little bit of a background with it. You can see the tweet down below that Alex Finn, he talked about Claudebot and how you can create this AI personal assistant, and it was one evening, it just started showing up all over my timeline. And then I was on like Deck Screener just looking at meme coins, kind of doing my own research, and I saw some Claude bought coins pop up, one on pump.fun, one on bags platforms. And usually when there's like multiple coins of the same one, you need them to like shake out to find a clear winner, and it's not one that you really want to buy into. So I went against my complete own advice because I don't really want to battle between two coins trying to find, and they were cheap. Like one was like a $15,000 market cap, which you should never buy, and the other one was like a $90,000 market cap. But it was talking about this Claude bot, and I'm like, all right, so we're seeing like a lot of this pop up on our timeline, a lot of people talking about Claude bot, and you're seeing more and more videos and content being made. Now we have these two new meme coins that got spun up. But again, they were such low market caps. They were kind of a PvP. Like we weren't sure which one was going to be the winner. And it made me nervous. So I just sprinkled the tiniest bit of money on there, essentially just to watch it in my portfolio to see if it would be a good recommendation for our community. And I end up going to bed. I wake up and the damn thing like 100x'd. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So like I pretty much like wedged myself out of there and insta sold, but it went from like 100,000 to like 10 million overnight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe this happened. And I didn't make a tremendous amount of money because I didn't put a lot in because there weren't a lot of reasons to do that. But where I'm going with this whole long story is that you're starting to see people gamble a little bit in the trenches now. You're starting to see things pop up on Twitter, pop up on X, pop up on TikTok, and people are spinning up these coins and people are just aping into them. So it's going to give us some really good talking points for our community. I think it's going to kind of revive the trenches a little bit. I'm going to kick this over to you, Joe. Have you seen this Claude bot pop up? Have you seen these videos of people making these AI assistants?
Yeah, I saw Claude, and then specifically Claude bot, I saw a little bit. But I just want to give the audience a little bit of a peek behind the scenes because Brian was onto this meta maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. And I like to encourage Brian's instincts because when he's like, should I give this a call to our community? That's typically a sign, yes, because he catches things super early. And you caught the AI developer meta that kind of is the primer. Yeah, the primer for this. I'm not sure if you talked about it, TiVo, in your last live, but Brian talked about the Ralph Wiggum coin. You know the Simpsons character, TiVo? Did you guys talk about this in the last live stream?
We didn't cover that.
Okay,
No.
so yeah, Brian was like, I'm going to make this, I might call this Ralph Wiggum coin. I'm like, what is it about? He goes, it's nothing to do with the Simpsons. It's an AI developer. And all I'm going with this is that there was an AI developer trend that preceded this, maybe like a week or two early, but that was like a 3 to 4x when Brian called it to our community. And so the trigger that he pulled for this wasn't like an insane call, in my opinion, because this has kind of been running within the trenches per se, right? The traders for a while now. So they need something to rotate into. And this is a meaningful move, like, right, for AI and developers. So it makes sense that this would have legs. So I don't know how long this is going to run also, but this is something that definitely is not slowing down. Who knows what's going to be next after the Claude AI bot. But we will see. This AI meta is running for a little bit longer than we thought. We thought it was dead after Ralph, right, Brian? But here it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, that Ralph coin, we called it like a $3-4 million market cap. Probably when they got the newsletter, it went up a little bit. I mean, they could go like, let's say it was like 8 million, but it ran all the way to like $40-50 million market cap, and then unfortunately, it went down pretty hard as well. Like, so everyone has to be very conscious of this. Because it can go, the AI developer who was getting tokens ended up selling like 2% of the supply. When people saw his wallet sell, people just sold out, and it pretty much just went to zero. So some people were left holding the bag, but that's why we talk about within our community a lot of time. And kind of what I did with this Claude coin is you put a little bit of money in. If it starts to really heat up, you're catching a 2, 3, 4x. Pull your initial investment out and maybe a little bit of profit, and then have a free roll sort of money. So if it goes parabolic, you feel great. If it goes to zero, hey, at least you still made 20, 40, 30, whatever percentage you pull out. So typically my rule of thumb, and it's not financial advice, this is what I do. Let's say I put $100 into the Penguin, and I buy it at $5 million market cap, and it goes to 15. I'm pulling my $100 out probably plus like $50, and I'm feeling pretty good. And then I'm just free rolling the rest. And if it goes to 50 million, if it goes to 80 million, 100 million, yeah, maybe you'll look back and be like, oh, what if? But these usually always go to zero in some form or fashion, and then they don't last forever. If they last forever, that small bag that you had, even if it's like a few bucks, is probably worth so much it doesn't matter. So you always want to be playing with house money whenever you're investing in these meme coins. You don't want to put in anything that you don't want to go to zero. It's a cliche thing to say, but you kind of want to just like, throw a little bit of money in there and hope for the best and hope for the right parameters and setups to happen. But like Joe said, this AI developer Claude meta is growing, and we're going to see how it continues to shake out, because even today there's been some like beta calls to this Penguin and these other ones. I don't know if I'm really into it, but people are paying attention. People are showing up in the trenches right now. Liquidity's picking up again. And it's boring. It's boring to trade ETH and Solana and Bitcoin right now. It's not fun. We're just looking at each other waiting for it to get to 100K. But when we start seeing the meme coins heat up and some opportunity, and we're starting to get, okay, this is what people are gravitating towards. It gives us an edge, and that's what we all try to do. We never bat 1,000%, but we try to give ourselves the best possible way of success.
Great breakdown all around, and it's the type of information that if you you like kind of the free tidbits you're getting here, go check that link out below for Momentum Moneymakers. Give it a click, and if you're interested in signing up and getting those first alerts, so you can kind of get inside baseball information when they first come out, check the link below. But we do have some sad news. R.I.P. to Nifty Gateway, as Beeple made a nice little illustration here. I know that kind of caught you guys off guard. Me as well, but it is important. So listen up if you're an NFT holder or a meme holder and you use Nifty Gateway. Listen up, because Brian was caught off guard too, and there's some actions you need to take.
Yeah, just withdraw your NFTs from there. You have 30 days, probably a little bit less now, but they just announced it like a few days ago. So if you do have NFTs there, just withdraw them from there and send them to like your OpenSea or your hot wallet.
This is such a sad day for NFT lovers like Joe and myself, because there was this timeline for like a year. Nifty Gateway, they would have a mint, you would mint it, and you would get an instant 2 or 3x. It was, you didn't even know what you were minting half the time. It was like the digital art NFT craze. I remember I was working for my medical device company at the time. It was like pre-DraftKings, and I like got my CEO on NFTs. He was like, "What are we buying?" I'm like, "Hey man, it's digital art. This is," and it was like we didn't know the artist. Now we do way more due diligence. This is when we first got in the game. He's like, "Wait a minute, like our $1,000 went to 4,000." And I go, "I know, it's crazy." So it was such a euphoric time with Nifty Gateway, and they're owned by Gemini, a major exchange. So to see them kind of sunsetting this platform is a bummer, because it was actually a pretty smooth platform, and I did like how they were trying to like embrace creators and digital art. And now it's kind of like a joke of all town. We got Beeple licking the tombstone of Nifty Gateway right now. But like Joe said, the biggest takeaway you can get is if you have any assets on Nifty Gateway, meaning NFTs, you have about a month or so to transfer them off. Probably do it sooner rather than later, because they're still worth something at the end of the day. And some of them, like they have, Nifty Gateway was actually the platform. There's an NFT artist, he's very famous, named Sam Spratt. His NFTs sell for tens of thousands, some hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he had the mass games, and it was all on the platform Nifty Gateway. He did a partnership with Nifty Gateway. It was huge, selling for 10, 15, 20 ETH these NFTs. And now that they're closing, I don't know what Sam has to do. I'm sure he has a backup plan, but it's a sad day. If you have assets on NFT, get them off, because if you don't, you'll lose them forever.
Yeah, and sadly, there's not much more to say about that. RIP Nifty Gateway, get your assets off. But that doesn't mean NFTs are dead, because let's see, Doodles, Moonbirds. Joe, I know you love the birds. Coinbase puts it onto their on their roadmap.
Yeah, I think whoever got in, we called this a little bit early to our community also, that there's a early access to this token airdrop that's coming in 2 days from now. So don't get it now. But if you purchase an NFT, I think I got mine for like $500 at the time. And a lot of people think that this will come out at a pretty good valuation. It's called the Burb token. And Moonbirds is, they're not just a NFT project. They have a physical card trading a company. I think I showed this before, right? I got a physical Pudgy Penguins. So they run the physical card game for Pudgy Penguins, and they so the owner of this company purchased the Moonbirds IP. They have revenue of about $8 million a year. So a lot of people thinking that, if this is like a tech stock, 25 multiples or whatever it is, but people already on prediction markets betting that this will come out above 50 million, 100 million. A lot of people believe it's going to come out above that. So I'm not telling you to go buy it, but we've been talking about this one for, I don't know, Brian, for quite a long time, right? So come back to our next live stream, and you'll see if I'm wearing some Louis Vuitton or wearing a McDonald's t-shirt. We'll see.
The Burbs, yeah, and then again, something that we've covered on this show, but more importantly, you've covered in the community super early. So all the more reason to subscribe. If you're not, bottom right, hit the logo, give it a thumbs up for the free alpha on the show, and then again, check the link below if you want to join the community. Let's see here. Canary Capital, friends of the show, Canary Capital. I know we've had them on the pod multiple times. Brian's interviewed them for summits, the most recent with their CEO, but looks like they're eyeing up a Pepe ETF. You excited for the Pepe ETF, Brian?
Yeah, this is interesting. Pepe is one of it is the most recognizable meme in the whole crypto space. It's Matt's a crypto native artist that created this character Pepe. It's like a green looking squid, and it's a multi-billion-dollar meme coin market cap. But it's actually a fraction of what like a Dogecoin or a Shiba is. I think it's like a $2 or $3 billion market cap. It's found on the Ethereum network. I like Pepe. I like Pepe if somebody's looking for like a I don't want to say low risk, but lower risk meme coin, because it has so many holders, so much liquidity behind it, but a path for it to multiple X under the right conditions. You're not going to buy it today and wake up tomorrow and it's going to be 2 or 3X. It's not that type of meme coin. But they're doing a lot of interesting things in the space. It is one of the most recognizable memes. It has a large market cap, a lot of holders, but it's still a fraction of like the Dogecoins and the Sheebs. So there is a world where like the Pepes and even like in the Pengus we talk about can become like the leaders of meme coins in the right conditions. So, and Canary Capital probably sees that as well. So this is huge. I didn't see this news come across. I think you just added that to the sheet. Joe, what are your thoughts on Pepe? I know we talk about it in the community here and there.
Yeah, lots of thoughts there. Or first one, shout out CS. Actually used to work for that company, a CSC Delaware company, and Tivo. Didn't you used to live in Delaware also? So we got some roots back there.
Oh, always, dude. That's the hometown. Yeah. Grew up.
Yeah, I've been to that office multiple times, but yeah, I threw this on here because Canary is looking to lead the meme coin ETF. The Doge one did pretty well last year, and a lot of people didn't know how it would do. It brought in like tens of millions of dollars to Doge, which is great. So Canary has a filing for MOG. They have one for Pengu and Pudgy Penguins NFT, and now they're doing one for Pepe. So Pepe, Brian and I talked about just a few days ago because we couldn't leave it off for 2026 list. It rides with Ethereum. So if you're a Ethereum maximalist or you just love Ethereum, Pepe will float on top of that boat and that water and that ship. So yeah, Pepe will run once Ethereum runs. It runs sometimes when Ethereum doesn't run. And it's got it's a million holders, right, Brian? It's like a crazy amount of holders. It's a lot. And it's famous, even before in the Bitcoin days. They had, Bitcoin and Ethereum NFTs before even the meme coins came out. So we love our Pepe here, and just a shout out that institutions are still looking at meme coins. That's what I really wanted to bring about here. They're not going away. They're going to come back, and I'm not concerned about meme coins overall.
Love it. And then we got one more topic, and then we'll, if there are any questions, there's a couple. Brian, I guess you saw that because you answered one of them already. But if there's any more questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to them after this last topic. It wouldn't be a momentum money makers rundown if we didn't talk about wrecked drinks. More sellouts going on, more flavors, more sellouts. The grapefruit partnership with X Games.
Yeah, that one I just dumped in there last minute because me and Brian has not missed any drops, but we both missed it. Was this today? Wait, we both missed this one today. But Brian, he reminded me of it because he brought the cherry cola one. How about you show that? Yeah, he said that's the best tasting one, Brian. You tell me about that.
Yeah, Cherry Cola one's is great. Who was the partnership? Oh, was this the X Games one?
World
This
Star.
Cherry Cola?
World
No,
Star.
No,
World Star.
North Star. This is the elite. So Ovi did a good job. They did a good job with it. My kids love it because it's still sparkling water, but it's cherry cola flavored. I thought it was gonna kind of taste gross because I was like, yeah, what are they just gonna give me like a watered down like Diet Pepsi or something? This is gonna be gross. And then one of my kids like took 2 sips of it and told me how good it was, and then stopped drinking it because they're kids. And I picked it up and drank it. And I was like, oh, this is like the best flavor they have. So I'm loving it. Huge bummer because we've been pretty busy this Monday morning with all these meme coins and all the Monday news that happens, and I knew this was happening, but I just blacked out. And then right before we went on the show, Joe's like, "Oh, did you get any of the rec cans?" I go, "No, I can't believe it because I got them all. I have a whole collection." And now I don't know. We need OSF or somebody to send us a case, or we need to get our hands on it because I can't have all the rec cans and be missing one. So hopefully they go back up for sale. But what did it sell out in 1 minute? And we've talked about this in the past. Just want everyone to realize this is that I claimed my rec tokens for buying this and made money. So whenever you buy these cases of rec drinks, we've talked about this on the show. You typically get an opportunity to claim their meme coin wrecked, and it's one of our favorite coins, and it translates to real money. And Joe, you asked if we covered this with TiVo on the past rundown. I'm gonna let you kind of like talk about it here quickly. I think we did, but I think you need to just give another breakdown of like how these are in brick and mortar stores, like the Giant Eagles of the world, and how you can claim these rec tokens and what that means for people.
Yeah, if you guys are living in any of the 4 states, I forgot the states off the top of my head, that has 200 Giant Eagle stores. You go in, you buy a 4-pack for $7, and they'll give you $15. And then there's people all over X taking the barcode, scanning it into base, and collecting basically free money. So there's people with truckloads. I told everyone in my community, in our community, if I was within driving distance, I'll clean out every single one because it'll basically be free rec drinks. This one, TiVo, I'm gonna do a shameless self-promotion. We couldn't leave this off a 2026 list. We have 24 top performing coins that we believe would do well in 2026. We gave 2 of them away, which is Rect and what was the other one? I forgot what the other one was already. We talked about it. But yeah, we couldn't leave this one off the list. They have a really big setup for 2026.
That's great. That's great. Question here from Scott, and it's a perfect question regarding to your top performers. Again, if you want the rest of that list, click the link below for the Momentum Moneymakers link. That'll bring you there if you want that full list. But question, like if people join Momentum Moneymakers and the coins that we recommend, are they available on Coinbase, most of them? Are any of them available on Coinbase, or is there a variety, guys?
Yeah, most of them are available on Coinbase because Coinbase has done so much integration with Solana. You can trade every Solana token out on Coinbase. If you cannot trade it on Coinbase, we will show you how to through tutorials with decentralized exchanges. But the vast majority is available through Coinbase.
Yeah, and it's a great thing. It's like when you sign up for Momentum Moneymakers, Crypt Nation, or anything of our other services other than the podcast, it's more than just alerts. It's more than just a newsletter. We've got tutorials. We've got newsletters. We've got market updates. There's an online private community where you can interact with Brian, Joe, the rest of the team. So if there is anybody else that is interested, last call, check the link below. Momentum Moneymakers. It's literally, shameless opinion here. It is the most fun because it gets the people going when you start talking about memes. That's why the chat was so active today. But we really do appreciate everybody coming over. Man, down market doesn't seem like it with over 400 people attending the live. That's awesome. Thank you guys for joining, and thank you to everybody else who's listening. We're excited. We'll have Brian and Joe back again sometime soon. But we always appreciate you listening. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you guys later in the week when we come back with Brendan. But thanks for listening, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.